I am Micah. We're Necromancy Made Easy. That is...
Devin, I have coffee.
Aaron!
And I am also Aaron.
These are amazingly silly people.
Thank you for not saying stupid. I saw it coming, and I appreciate you not saying it.
Well, we are stupid many times. Only once. Okay, so the topics for today are the Black Friday sales, Volo's Guide to Monsters, and the NES Classic versus retro emulation. That is very much an opinion piece. So,
They're all opinion pieces. But
what did we buy for Black Friday?
Ooh. I got Final Fantasy Tactics for the Android, because that was on a 70% off sale, which was awesome.
I also bought that because you told me about it.
I had it for the iPad, and if you ever played the old one, it was amazing. And the port and the way they redid it, pretty much fantastic. So if you liked Final Fantasy Tactics before, definitely worth picking up. I think the sale's still going, actually.
Yeah, I think so.
And if you haven't played Final Fantasy Tactics and enjoy turn-based strategy with great story, and actually you can branch off, you don't have to follow the story perfectly.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic game.
And I like the fact that you can pick different characters and really develop them. And you can have a set of characters that you can pretty much carry through the whole game. Obviously, there's combinations that work well, but eventually, in Tactics, you can do everything. Everybody gets the ability, so everyone can learn all the jobs.
Yeah, you have kind of a core character, too, that you have to have.
all the jobs.
But all the generic characters you get in the game, they change their looks. But you can pick characters you want, build a core team, and your team can... I mean, there's something like 20-plus different classes in the game, and you build each character to be able to learn the new class, and they can specialize differently within each class. It's a pretty amazing game. So highly recommend it. It's only like $4 right now, and the port's great onto the mobile devices. So yeah, that was my Black Friday purchase, big one, for gaming at least.
Is it still $4 even after Black Friday?
I think so.
Actually, I think it's $4 right now.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend you go buy it right now. It's worth $4.
Okay. Gotta go, guys.
No.
You just have to pull out your phone and buy it. We can still do this.
Oh, okay.
What else did you get?
I got StarCraft 2, Legacy of the Void. I already had the other ones, and it is amazing. The story is fun. The variability in what you get through the campaign, you get to choose what special powers your units have. That's really enjoyable. Your ship you're on, you get to choose special powers that your ship can do. That's highly enjoyable. And it's StarCraft, so it's wonderful. Yep. I also bought a ton of board games, but I won't go through that list because it's embarrassingly long.
Is there any one that you're super excited about?
I'm super excited about...
StarCraft, the board game?
Star Wars Imperial Assault.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yes.
Yep, it's a little dungeon crawler, but for Star Wars, it has like these little puzzle pieces you put together to make the dungeon, and you walk through it, and you shoot things, and someone plays the evil guys, and someone plays the good guys, and then, yep, everybody's happy.
No, sir, I didn't see you playing with your dolls again.
Anyways, next.
I bought, Fire Emblem
I don't know.
Awakening. Yes, I did. And it was half off. It was 50% for the DS for the digital download. That was pretty cool. I also bought a widescreen camera. We have 2 cameras this week. Kind of amazing.
Oh, that's why it's hard to tell what's going on.
There's one, and there's one.
Oh.
Wow. Stop. Okay, we're done there.
Okay.
So I got another camera. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully it'll be an improvement. It also should improve the quality. It's 1080.
And then next week we'll have
So the one you didn't bring, no, we'll have one, hopefully.
Well, it's purchased. It's just shipping. I can't make it get here any faster. I could have made it get here by Monday, but that would have been by paying extra money.
Nice.
And it'll be here by Tuesday,
Nice.
so it'll be okay.
Nice.
What else did I buy? I bought Final Fantasy Tactics as well. I bought, what was it? It was, I have to look it up. It was a Syndicate-like game. I remember playing Syndicate as a kid. It was a real-time strategy, and you run around in a cyberpunk universe, and you do espionage and steal stuff from corporations, and it was an homage to that.
Okay.
I'll find the name. What did you get anything?
I did. I dropped some money on MechWarrior. I got, since they had a handful of different things on sale, like they had some staggered events for things. So I got one of their Origins packs that has a lot of the 2C variant of the clan mechs, which are basically they're like old inner sphere mechs, but they're just adapted with clan technology. So you have kind of a mix, like so customizing it as like an inner sphere mech, but you have all the clan weapons and engines and stuff that you can do and whatnot. So I've been playing around with those. But then they also had a sale on the in-game currency, so I bought that, some of that, and then Monday.
Did they have a sale on any of the bays?
Actually, I was just getting that. Monday, the bays are going on sale for 50%.
So if you buy MechWarrior, you should buy some bays because
Yes.
bays are the things that let you have more mechs.
Yes, which allow you to master them and all that. So.
Kind of important.
Yeah, so about the MC, I think they had the MC at, which is the in-game currency. They had that at 20% off, or gave you an extra 20% for whatever you bought. So 20% extra. And then with that, then I'll spend a lot of that on mech bays, which will then be a 50% off. So if I'll get a bunch of mech bays I don't have to worry about for a while, and then I'll just actually just play the game then, and then buy other mechs to fill those bays.
Nice.
Cool.
So, and then in January the Bushwhacker comes. Yay!
That's your favorite.
General right now too. Steam has huge sales going on
Yes.
for most of the next few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've been looking at. There's a game on GOG. It was like, I forget the exact name of the. It's a strategy game. Like it's Planetary Export or something like that. You colonize Mars and you're competing with other companies to export things from Mars. But I forget the exact name of the game right now.
That's okay.
It's on what?
GOG.
GOG? What's GOG?
Yeah, let's go.
Good old game.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Good old-
I think they moved away from calling themselves Go Games and just stuck with
GOG.
Yeah.
That's easier to remember.
Yeah. And then sometimes Humble Bundle has things like that too. But what are you trying to do, man?
Yeah, it's really distracting.
Steam does not want to play nice because I was trying to find the name of that game.
That's okay. We'll
Well,
skip
if you
it.
go to-
We're
Well,
already
it's a
long
resource
enough.
management game. I figured some of you might like it, but don't like. It looked like it was almost kind of a Civilization kind of thing, where you're just trying to elbow out your competitors and whatnot. And
Well,
of course,
that's
that's resource management too. So you're trying to corner the market on like a particular resource or something like that too, or drive down the price of something so that way other people can't compete with it and whatnot. So
Those games can be kind of fun.
yeah, so that's why I thought I'd kind of bring it up, because it sounds like it'd be more than just a me interest game.
I enjoy games of economic domination.
But it's on GOG. I forget what exactly it's called, but
That's not helpful.
I'm
No,
sorry.
not at all.
I'm sorry.
So there's a game on GOG.
Put it in the
Congratulations.
comments.
Yeah.
We if we find it, we'll put it in the comments.
That's
Well,
a
maybe
good
I'll
choice.
see if I can find it.
So
Next
In the meantime-
topic.
yes,
Yes,
next
Volo's
topic.
Guide to Monsters.
So this came out a little bit ago. Volo's Guide to Monsters, and it's D&D expansion, so 5th edition. And it's basically, so anyway, cover of this. Boom. This is a limited edition cover. They have another cover that looks a lot more like the typical D&D 5th edition books that are coming out right now.
Actually, I snagged part of it for the image for the thumbnail. The
okay.
giant looking at the.
Oh, yeah. One of those, is it Storm Giant, Cloud Giant? One
Oh,
of those.
Offworld
Yeah, I
Trading
think it's a storm
Company.
giant. Off-world trading.
Offworld Trading Company for $14.
So
Normally $40.
the idea in this book, though, it adds a lot of new player races. There's something like 8 or 9 of them, including giants. A lot of the ones they had in 4th edition that they added in there.
So you have a lizard man and some
You
other
have
stuff.
Lizard Man, you have Giant, you have Triton, which is kind of an underwater creature.
I've got a nice flow chart. I'll send
Yeah.
a link to. It was entertaining.
It was entertaining. I enjoyed looking through it.
Are you
But
smart?
Are you smart?
yes, there's a
You should
wonderful
play an
flow
orc.
chart of what to decide, to play. Because they've also added a few playable monster races like orcs and just goblinoid type creatures, as well as the Yuan-ti.
The Yuan-ti, the hobgoblin looked fun.
Yes, the hobgoblin look fun. They have kobolds in there. And then for those particular races, they also go very much into the society on those races, so you can have a much better idea of how they work, or if you want to have a campaign to fight against them. They go into the goblin society, they go into kobolds, they go into the gnolls, and actually how gnolls are typically raiding and where they come from and how they're normally dealing with demons and that kind of thing, and to build kind of campaigns around there, as well as mind flayer dungeons. And they go very heavily into specialized mind flayers and just how their societies work, as well as beholders, and just kind of what a dungeon of a beholder would look like. So it's actually really cool, and they go very in depth in a lot of those monsters. They add a lot of new monsters, variants of giants. I still love the little grung, which are poison tree frogs, essentially, that give you wonderful poisons, like having to stand in place and jump is your only way of moving if you get poisoned by one of them.
The purple one was awesome.
Oh yes, the purple one, which basically compels you to go find mud or water, and that's all you can do. That's all you can think about until you find it and roll in it. So if you're fighting a group of them with your team and one of the purple ones poisons you, you run off trying to find water to splash in.
Rolls into mud. rolls.
Yeah,
That was
all
a
of them are
Frankenstein
fantastic.
reference.
So, but I mean, if you're looking for a little bit more interesting races, different from the original, book, the Player's Handbook, this goes into a lot of different races that you can add in there, a lot of ways of playing them, and how they go into society and how they might stick out in different areas, and just a good way of role playing them. Yeah, might. Well, like the Kenku, which are little flightless ravens that can only repeat sounds. And they go into telling you not to be annoying to your own party with doing that. So, which is great. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, the artwork, as per typical D&D, let's get it over here so people can see it.
We'll go to the Devon
But
The Devon.
it's one of the player races. You don't get so close. Typical D&D look. High quality, good book. That's a cat.
Question.
Yes.
Are there any new classes?
No new classes in this book. This one's all about races and monsters. So
And I think for building like an evil campaign, it would give you a reason to have goals and have a group that's working together that's evil, so you could all pick a race.
oh yeah, you could definitely go. You could easily, out of this book, build an entire group of goblinoid, hobgoblins, orcs as your party, and have that type of campaign. You could do a kobold campaign, which might be fun, even though it might be very short-lived.
For justice! They slaughtered our grandfather!
It also gives you a lot of pre-built NPC things for just the typical player races and classes. So like in here they have an abjurer's assistant. That's terrible, but and they go through a whole bunch of the different classes, so wizards, archdruids, and bards, and different ideas like that. So you can have pre-built NPCs and get an idea of how they might be built and how they might interact. So, yeah, and it actually goes through the different creatures where they'd be good to fight against them. Basically, it's a great little expansion to D&D.
It makes a big difference from everything I've seen.
Yeah.
And so it adds a lot of flavor and lore, and if you're very willing to go through it, it'll
Yeah.
help you out.
Yeah, highly recommend it, actually. I don't buy all the books for D&D because they're expensive, really, and
I'm
don't
well
need
on
them.
my way to getting all the books for D&D 5th
Yeah.
edition.
Well, and another thing I love is the awesomer class, or however it's pronounced. The AA.
Awesomer.
It's
They are
basically
pretty awesome.
More awesome.
holy people. I really am getting confused.
To
by
the
them.
Devon Cam.
Yes,
Devon
Devon Cam. But it's basically humans, whatever race, angelic, issues. We'll call them angelic issues.
Angelic issues.
But a lot of them are very holy. They've got some
They are
quest
holier
from
than
their
thou.
divine.
No, they really are. They're not self-righteous. They really are just that righteous.
Yeah, they're
It's
truly
as a
righteous.
race.
Some of them have
Righteous.
fallen, and they're what it looks like is they're born into. It might be a human, but they're born as one of these. So they're actually become this race, and they don't necessarily show their angelic or their divine background all the time. They try to keep it hidden because evil things will actively try to kill them, unless they're one of the fallen. But I mean, again, a lot of these classes or races, you could build an entire campaign around these. So a very holy campaign, or someone trying to rise back, if they're a fallen one. You could build your entire party around one of the party members pretty easily if they're one of these. So, I don't know. If you're into D&D 5th edition, great expansion, highly recommend it.
Cool.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Next topic.
Next topic.
So the last one is the classic NES versus retro emulation. And I believe you brought up this topic, did you not?
I did, because essentially that's what the classic NES is I was watching some other videos, kind of a tangent off of the one that you found on the teardown. And like the specs inside of it are basically a Raspberry Pi, a little stripped down because it's proprietary, like Nintendo designed it. It's running their software on top of a Linux kernel for this little tiny board. But essentially it's just emulating old consoles, which, you know, given that the classic NES apparently has some stocking issues as far as people just not having it, it's been that popular, and then however much it costs versus having it Pi and building it yourself. It's about similar or cheaper to go with a Pi, or even just run it onto your own PC. And so, you know, I thought that might be something worth talking about.
And I think that there's a lot of nostalgia, so people are buying it for kind of that nostalgia feel. For most of the hardcore gamers, we already know how to do emulation. We know, I mean, if you have figured out how to configure a DOS box, I mean, you to play your old games, it's because you want to play them. I mean, it takes some real effort. Setting up an emulator anymore is relatively easy. The hard part is legally acquiring the ROMs. Now, I will not tell you that you should not acquire ROMs in a possibly illegal manner, but there may be many methods of finding these things that really aren't that hard.
Well, I mean, really, a simple Google search, you can find it. But whether
Don't
or
give
not
anybody
you
the secret. and this is a legal way to do it. I would consider purchasing
Don't
this.
tell people about Google.
Who?
Yeah.
I'm not saying do it. Don't do it.
And I do
It's
admit, like,
illegal,
it is
but-
a Nintendo sanctioned product. Like, it is their product, and
Yeah.
so it's going to be all under the legal umbrella of Nintendo. But the other trick of it is like, well, it's loaded with, you know, a set number of games, and, you know, just depending on whatever your background of it is, like, you may have maybe played maybe less than half of those. You may have had an entirely different library of Nintendo games.
Oh yeah, I mean it's mostly the true classic games that almost everyone has at least seen or tried or heard of.
Yeah, and I looked through some of those. I was like, okay, well, you know, the Marios are pretty easy. You know, the first party games are pretty easy to come across. You know, the Zelda and Tetris and those.
Yeah, because you can buy all of those for the 3DS and the Wii U to play. I mean, like, those already exist. That is not something new.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Some of the, I think, what was it, like the Bubble Bobble, Donkey Kong Jr., all of those can also be found in other places for arcade remixes, and the arcade remixes are generally better than the Nintendo versions of those to begin with. So for you to get an arcade remix, I don't know if you've seen some of the joysticks or some of the other emulators that they have built into small packages, they have better versions of these things. And it really is the Nintendo version that Nintendo is putting forward. And so the reason you would buy this is for the nostalgia feel.
Well, it has the old controllers. It has. Right. I mean, they're short cords too, so you have to sit close to your TV.
Well, those were actually designed to be used with the Wii remotes. The Wiimotes, you can plug those into them and use it as a controller. So those designs already existed. They just took that port and put it on the front.
Right.
So now,
but what I'm saying is the cord that they've attached to it is really short. So
yes,
it's 26 inches or so.
I think it's 28. But yeah,
28.
it's ridiculous. Yeah, the 2 inches makes a big difference.
It does when it's that short.
Yeah,
but
although I guess you can have pretty long HDMI cables since it does use that output, so you can bring the console pretty far out and then plug in power wherever.
The console's tiny too. It's not the size of the original NES.
It's about the size of a phone. I mean,
it's little.
It's pretty small. It's a little box.
Yeah, it looks like the old one, but it doesn't take up that much space.
Someone else compared it to 3 Nintendo cartridges stacked on top of each other that is slightly narrower. And that's about how big it is.
Okay.
For those of us who remember.
Yes. It's about as big as his hands actually were there.
Member berries.
Member berries? Yes.
Remember when the time guys?
I remember. Anyway. You guys need to watch more South Park.
Apparently.
It's true, you do. This season has been fantastic. But no, I mean, it's a small system, so it doesn't take up a lot of space. But the controllers are basically, I don't know, are they the size of the original Nintendo?
Are, and they're almost the same.
again, on this teardown video I was watching, like he was tearing it down, like he tore down the console, which no surprise, the guts of the Classic were just tiny. It's a little pie board, basically. But then he tore down the controller as well, and even the PCB inside the controller looks more or less the same, except that the control chip on there was obviously very different, just because the old one was, I don't know, it's very short.
The old one looked like it was approximately 3/4 of an inch by about
old
a
controller.
quarter of an inch. The actual no, not the controller, but the chip for the board, and it was much taller. This one was square, smaller.
Just a little tiny thing, like you expect a modern chip to look like, and so that was the only real difference between the old controller and the Classic controller.
The bigger difference to me is how does the controller feel? Because I'm not going to break it open.
They say it feels the same, which
Okay.
for
pretty
adults, one of the larger complaints that I saw is that after a while it feels awkward because the controller
tiny.
is small.
Yeah,
And
it
it's
was
like
made for kids, I think.
Super square too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, because the ones I used to have, I don't have them anymore. I had to get rid of it. But I remember
still have them.
it being like this. My hands were basically touching to do
I
everything.
remember.
Yeah, I remember.
Remember.
But as a kid, it was great. As an
Yeah,
adult,
'cause you had
they're a
tiny
little
hands.
small. So if it's still the same size, I could see it limiting play simply
Honestly,
due to comfort.
I would have suggested going with the Nintendo kind of button style, but the Super Nintendo form factor, because that at least had the rounded edges and it was easier to hold.
Slightly larger.
But this
Yeah.
is shooting for the nostalgia factor, too.
Right.
So, I mean, using a Super Nintendo style controller on an original Nintendo might be a little weird.
I don't disagree. You could have actually made the other two buttons just turbo, because that would have been cool.
Oh, yeah, just add turbo buttons.
Turbo!
If they release a Super Nintendo variant, which if this does well enough, I could see them doing.
I would love to play Super Metroid again.
Oh, yeah.
Not that I
would
don't
love to
already own
see-
it on like 3 platforms.
Yeah, it's not like I haven't beaten every Super Nintendo game I ever cared to play, but I'd do it
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
For me, it's more for my kids, because my kids haven't played these games, and these games help define my childhood. And my youngest daughter came and says, "Dad, I've never played any of the original Marios." And that's when she said, "I haven't played Final Fantasy," and I was like, "You have the JRPG heart. It's okay."
Yeah, the original Final Fantasy, you can just get on your phone. So, but yeah, I mean, some of those older ones and the Super Nintendo ones especially would be great to get. And those, the graphics for that system, I think translates well enough through even the newer higher def TVs that you could still play those games and not feel uncomfortable staring at them. And I had coffee on my face.
Yes. I went like this, and you didn't get it. And I was
I'm
like,
just
"I'll
gonna-
just leave it."
I didn't say you do it, but
I
anyway.
was very
Yeah.
persistent.
So, with the Super Nintendo system, though, I think that would translate pretty well to our modern TVs in those definitions, where it's like, again, I think I've commented before, Nintendo 64, a little bit more painful to look at on a high-def TV.
Yep. Because the polygons just look blocky and
He
awful.
agrees
Yeah, it's
with something.
Actually, my brother on his Android phone has PS2 emulation. Like, he'll play PS2 games on it.
I've done that on mine.
And he has a controller piece that he'll actually slide the
Yep.
piece.
I have that as
and
well.
it snaps in, so he can just play like that.
Yeah, with my phone, I don't do it too often just because I end up playing other things. But there's, particularly if you root the Android device, but you don't have to. But you can connect PlayStation 3 controllers to Android phones, either through a USB cable or Bluetooth if you root the phone. And then you can map that directly into whatever emulator you want to run on the phone, and then you have a normal modern controller, running your emulator games, which is another thought that I had bringing up, the classic NES versus, emulations of different kinds.
Yeah.
Because of this, you can easily take around and take with you. And then there's a company called Game Clip where they make these clips that snap around the PS3 controller for different types of phones, and they have a universal one where it's just a plate with a Velcro strap where you just Velcro your phone to it.
And so you can use the phone as the screen, and you're basically just holding the
Yeah,
controller.
you don't have to hold the
up here.
phone or prop your phone up just so to play or anything like that.
So it makes it more like the 3DS.
If you don't want to buy a 3DS.
I like the 3DS.
Yeah.
So
Or if you're poor and don't want to buy a 3DS.
I can fully understand that.
Yeah.
Well, and again, though, that some of that does go back to licensing, though. I mean, where it's
Yeah.
Right.
legal
Yeah.
to do it.
At
In
this
some
point
cases, it is. But
in my life, I have enough money to pay for these things, and so I'm deciding that because I want games to move forward and continue, I am going to pay for the product, even
Well,
if it is
yeah.
again. Because usually it's like I think Super Metroid's like $7.99 to buy it, for like the 3DS, and the original Mario's are like $5 each. So I mean, it's not like they're expensive. It would
No.
only be cheaper.
They're not charging the original retail price for the game.
Right. It would be cheaper to
Right.
buy the classic NES for the number of games that you get. But at the same time, a lot of those games I'm never going to play. I mean, I am not going to play Donkey Kong Jr.
no.
I'm not going to play, I might play the balloon time with my kids because that would be relatively fun. You get two people bouncing around the screen.
But there are a lot of games on there, though. If you played a third of the games that they listed on that,
You get your value out of it.
yeah, really easy. I mean, even if you played 4 of them.
Well, and they added 4 save states, so that means that you can actually have 4 separate games
Yeah.
saved. So
Yeah.
you don't actually have to do the
You're not
whole
limited
thing.
to one save on a Zelda cartridge.
Right. Or, you could save your spot and punch out without having to write down all the codes.
To be fair, the original Zelda had 3.
Yeah. This only gives you one more.
One more.
Yeah, so the technology has greatly improved.
By 1/3.
Yeah, I was like, by 30%. 30%.
So, I think that I personally feel that if you're shooting straight for just emulation, there's much better solutions than the classic NES out there, especially for the versions of the games that you get. Like the Pac-Man is not the arcade version, it's the Nintendo version. Donkey Kong is also not the arcade version, so like you're missing the pie level and a couple of the pieces. It's good for the Nintendo nostalgia feel, but if you're
It's the
if you're-
Nintendo version.
right, if you're the hardcore gamer, probably not for you, to be honest.
Is anybody going to buy this system?
I think I will. Because I want to
I might
play
if the price drops. At
Yeah,
$60, I don't think it's worth it to me.
No, it's not worth it to me either
that's-
because I still have the original NES that works and I have controllers and games and all
Yeah,
that.
if you have the games for it, yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I don't. And then if I want more games for it, then I
you,
will.
it doesn't make sense to
No,
buy
it makes no sense for me to buy it because I actually have the functioning original. Wherein if I want more games for it, then I'll go to Games
Anywhere.
Ahoy or someplace and I'll go through because they have massive library there too of things that people just dumped off.
Every once in a while, though, there are games that are hard to find and are very
Yes.
expensive to buy.
Yep.
And are
Yeah.
good games. But, yeah, it's a little rare.
Yeah, and you can go crawling eBay looking for those cartridges too or whatever. And then that gets into two. You can make your own ROMs if you want to get the hardware for it, where if you want to plug in and read the cartridge, you can do that. And then go back into the emulation if you don't want to play your classic console all the time.
Yeah, the one thing that the classic NES does have is the CRT scan lines. They have a version where you can have the scan lines on there,
Yeah.
and that to me is so worth the $60.
And I've read too about a couple articles where between the NES and the SNES and even the N64, they have RGB capability. If you want to go in and hack up and solder the motherboard on a little bit, you can get RGB output, so that way it looks better on other screens. But they just didn't ship it that way. Just the
Yeah.
difference of international, like I think in Japan, they probably ship the consoles with RGB connectors because their TVs are just different, as opposed to when they send them to the US, they need to use a different TV standard, so they...
Well, in Europe's
that
even
way.
a different standard.
Yeah, in
from-
Europe too. So, but for newer screens, like if you go on like better color and whatnot, then I found videos out there where you can modify those consoles to put RGB out.
So, classic NES or emulation? I know the answer to this based on what you said.
For me, neither really, because I just
And
know
the original.
emulate. I don't really
Very
do-
non-committal.
Well, I don't really play emulation games so much anymore. Just have other games that I'd rather be playing. But I have the original consoles that I'll play on too, so I don't have a need to buy the classic.
And I don't see a point to buy the classic NES.
I would not because I don't play classic games. So
I would, because some of those games are fun. I love the old Zelda. And honestly, if Nintendo's still licensing it, I'm going to pay them for it if I want to do it. because that's the legal approach.
Right.
So, if
We
they're no
advocate the
longer
legal
licensing it and it becomes available to the public, if you can emulate it, then that's fine. But as
And-
long as they're still licensing it, that's the route to go. So, and some of the games are fun games. Playing the old Nintendo games, I sit down, my wife and I would both enjoy replaying some of those. The old Zelda, I'd love to sit down and replay. I can do it on my Game Boy, but I'd rather have it on the big screen. But
Yep.
the little controllers. So I'd go with the classic. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, and I also there with Micah too. Like I don't mind spending money on games. Like I have the money at the at the moment. Have the job at the moment where I can afford to just spend money on games that are just silly. Like between things like Star Citizen and what I just spent on my Warrior and all that. It's like if I enjoy a game, then I don't mind spending money on it.
It's kind of how they continue.
Yeah, that's kind of
how
the
you
point.
keep- that's kinda how you keep having
Otherwise,
games.
you're stealing them, and then
Yeah.
when I don't have money for things, I don't buy them. I don't get them.
Yeah. I mean, younger years, yeah, I did some of that just because I didn't have a job, didn't have money. My name is Bob. I'm not Devin. It's Bob.
Do not confuse Devon with Devon.
No.
And Devon is fancy.
Devon is fancy. He would never do such a thing.
Well, outside of that, do we have anything else?
No, I think that's a pretty good cover for the Dapics.
Kill it.
All right, let's bye.
Kill it.
Kill it with fire.